I'm Anna, the Yarn Randomizer, and this is episode 42 of the Yarn Randomizer, and it is the 25th of January. You're going to notice I'm peeking over there. And yeah, I'm back from vacation. Kind of took a week out at my son's and then just kind of took a week to chill out. So I'm back. Now, this is a knitting podcast, and it's basically pretty much knitting all the time. And let's see, let me get all the rest of the preliminaries out of the way. Welcome to folks who are finding this for the first time, and also welcome back to folks who are subscribers and coming back to watch regularly. I am the Yarn Randomizer on Ravelry and on Instagram and on wherever else. Basically, if I can be there, I'm pretty much most places, and if this name, probably most active on Instagram and Blue Sky right now. And then, or at least trying to ramp up, trying to get everything in parallel on all these different platforms. I was looking to see if they had tools for that, and they do, but I don't think I'm going to use it. But okay, back to the preliminaries. Why Yarn Randomizer? Well, it's because I pick yarns from my stash using these random coins. These are all assigned to, every yarn in my stash is assigned to a number. And all the numbers are represented in here. There's also a couple of extra ones in there too. One for the newest yarn in the stash and one for the oldest yarn in the stash. And so, let's see, so that's why Randomizer. And I pick my projects for the most part randomly from my stash. And then the last thing is please like and subscribe, and that helps other folks find this. So I feel like I'm being a little clunky after a little bit of time off, but we'll get back in the groove. Now, so last time I was giving away a skein of yarn from me to Yarn in their watermelon colorway, and the name that was picked randomly was Carol Allen. It was Carolyn Allen 5555. It was the YouTube handle. So if you can get in touch with me through my Gmail address, yarnrandomizer@gmail.com, let's figure out how to get that to you. Okay, so now let's get right down to business. So what am I wearing? Well, there's two things. And so one is this Wind by the Lake sweater. And this is a sweater by I think it's Lina Peterson. And it's done at a similar weight to, say, the ranunculus. In this case, I'm using a strand of fingering and a strand of mohair. I think it's Ito Sensei's mohair, and a yarn from, I'm trying to remember the name, Dream in Color. And this is a kind of a heavy fingering that they have that's 100% New Zealand wool. And it turned out so nice. Now, this yarn was only available from Gauge in Austin, Texas, which is where I got it, this particular yarn that they make. And I highly recommend it. It's so soft, really nice. And so that's the sweater. Let's see if you can see it a little bit better. But yeah, it's sort of like a ranunculus in that it's got some lace and some details, knit on large needles and everything. But it's got a strictly round yoke on it instead of having a partial raglan like the ranunculus does. And then the other thing that I'm wearing is my garter snake cowl. And I wanted to show you one of the reasons I like this so much, and this is by Lavanya Patricelli, is it slowly changes from brioche to garter stitch up here. And the really nice thing is that the garter stitch, you can see how big and kind of looser it is down here, but the garter stitch brings it in, so you can really wear this effectively in cold weather. I really like it. And so yeah, so those are the two things I'm wearing. So, and again, all information will be down below in the notes and everything. So now, well, I do feel out of practice, even though I haven't done this any further apart than 2 weeks, but okay. So now, finished objects. I can see here I didn't update my notes, but my first finished object to talk about is the garter snake hat to go along with this cowl. And so it's definitely a beanie. It fits really well. I'll put in a picture of me wearing it, sort of. And so again, it has the same approach. It starts with brioche all the way around and slowly converts into a wider and wider area of garter stitch, and that's 2-color garter stitch. Let's see. And so then up at the top it becomes 100% garter. And so the interesting things about this was this is knit on smaller needles than the cowl, and so it's a little more tight knit. It's a smaller gauge, and so maybe a little more protective as a hat. And then the other thing is it really decreases rapidly at the top. And so I think if I were to do it again, I might do it. I believe I did hit gauge with this, but I think I would use 1 size larger needles. I used I think a 2, and I would probably try a 3 next time for this pattern. And then maybe do some more solid rows of brioche at the bottom and maybe some more straight solid rows of garter at the top in order to give it a little more length. But it really turned out beautiful, and it goes great with the cowl, and so I'm really happy with it. So this was my last Yarn Randomizer project from last year, and so it is finished. So yeah, so that turned out well. Now I have also a half-finished object, and so let me set that there. And that is my, if I got the notes here, I should have. Hold on for a moment. There it is, the Rhinebeck Roomies sock. And so I've got the second sock underway, but here's the first one done. Now, this is the Rhinebeck Roomies pattern, so it's got a neat kind of yarn. You do a yarn over and pull it over a couple of stitches. So basically you've got columns of garter stitch and then columns where it's stockinette, but every so often you're pulling a loop over that stockinette column. And so it gives it a really nice detail. Now, this is normally a cuff down sock, but I knit it as a toe up, and I used, Wendy Johnson's Gusset Heel Basic sock from her book, Socks from the Toe Up. And so this actually has what's called a Flegel heel. And so what I like about the Flegel heel is that you get a gusset, so you get some extra room here at the instep, but it's basically a short row heel. And so you get that extra room, but then you also have the ease of short row heel to finish it off. So you get this interesting line that runs down from the end of the gusset increases down to the heel. And so I think it's turned out great. So I will definitely I have the second one about halfway done. Here it is. Oops, I don't want to pull out a mid-row here. I was in the middle of doing something else, but yeah, I'm basically right now I'm on the gusset increases on this. And so I'd say about almost 75% done with these socks. So I intend to have these finished for next time. And so those are turning out really nice. And finally, let's see, I think that's it for finished objects. I forgot to put the finished objects sections in here, so I'll have to fix that before I put the notes up. So as far as what I've been working on, well, I was out at my son's for about a week, and then I came back and I've been a little lazy the past week. I can blame it a little bit on video games. I was playing video games with my sons while I was out visiting, and so we ended up playing a lot of different games, and so I've been playing my Switch a little more than I usually would over the past week. But I did make really good progress. Although I said I would have this finished, I made really good progress on my cobblestone. So this is another randomizer project from last year. And so this thing's looking really large. Let's see. So it is most of the way done. There's a little bit of the top to do and finish it off. And it's not that much to go, but the real trick, let me see if I can show you how much have I got here left. Oh, is that it? Wait a second. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'll show you how much yarn I have left. So I got this far. I have a couple more sets of short rows to do and a finish up of the collar, and I have this much yarn left. So I definitely, and you know what happened was I looked at the size I decided to make, and it definitely calls for more yarn than I had. I think that I thought because I made the body not quite as long and the sleeves not quite as long that I'd have enough to do this in, but I'm out of luck. So I ran out, I lost it, yarn chicken. But fear not. So I got in touch with the dyer, and this is a worsted yarn from the Fiber Seed. They're sprout worsted. And this colorway is Foggy Christmas Eve. So I asked her if they had any of this left, and she said no. And then I thought about it for a second. I said, oh, this base color here, because she's really good about having well-defined kind of what dye she uses and what base colors there are and stuff. If you look at her yarn dyeing, I think in most of her colors she lists kind of what, so you can tell like that there's common colors between different colorways and stuff, and so it's easy to match things up with her yarn dyeing, how she approaches it. So I said, what's the base color for this yarn? And she said, oh, she said, I have some of that. And so she's got some of this gray in a solid color. And so I asked her to go ahead and I buy a ball of that. And I think what I will do, because this is garter, I think it's going to do a good job of hiding any kind of shift in the base colorway. But the idea is I want to work these two colors together in alternating rows for a few rows, and then finish off with the other color at the top and see how that finishes it off. But yeah, so it's almost there. I was so disappointed when I couldn't finish it at my son's, but this was how far I made it while I was there. And this is, I tried it on, and this is going to be a big cozy sweatshirt-like sweater, and I can't wait to wear it, but it's going to have to wait another 2 weeks before I can show it off. So hopefully I'll be wearing this next time and you can see how it ended up. So that's it for that one. The Cobblestone is what that one's called. So that one is where it's at until I get that additional yarn. All right, and then, so the Cobblestone, the Rhinebeck Roomies, and then the only other stuff that I worked on was, oh yes, my year-long blanket project. So here we are 25 days into January, and this is how far I am on my new blanket. So I think it's looking pretty good. I'm really happy with the color combination. And so I'm doing these bubble stitches now, and these are bubble stitches that get bigger every three sets. And so the first set are narrower, these are wider, and then there's going to be a last set that's even wider that's coming after this next color. But yeah, so it's working up really nicely, and I'm really happy with the color combination. And it's a little less stitches per day than the one for last year. But it's pretty nice, and so it's a nice little bit to keep me occupied each day and know that I'll have another big blanket at the end of the year. So yeah, that one is coming along really nicely. And this is, it's Stephen West pattern, the Bubbly Blossoms blanket, and this is Maya Neo, was it Lankava's Maya Neo yarn? I got it from Finished Knits, and I've been happy with using their DK as a 75-25 DK, and it's reasonably priced because this blanket took 16 skeins of yarn to do. So yeah, so it makes it affordable and everything. So that's it. So that one's progressing well. Now let's see. So that's the year-long blanket. So my Sunday morning socks, I don't know that I've knit a lot on those. I'm trying to finish those Rhinebeck Roomies first. Now this is my first Yarn Randomizer project for 2025, and these are the Sunday morning socks. And those, do I have that? Oh, I didn't put the buy on there. Let's see, let me bring that up really quick. I always want people to get credit for their patterns. Carly Perrins, and so I've been really happy with this slip stitch pattern. So one of the things I did though since last time was I typically will knit a sock to fit my foot. I'll knit a sock to be 9.5 inches long. so that I have a little bit of negative ease on there. And so what I did was based on my gauge on this, and I calculated how many stitches are going to occur before the turn of the heel. And so I figured that I have to do, I think it's 7.75 inches before I start doing the heel. And it's just a regular short row heel on these socks. And so once I get that to 7.75 inches, then it'll be ready for the heel turn. And I think I would like to have that ready to show next time. It's just a short row heel, I believe, with the sock. I think so. Yes, just a standard short row heel without a gusset. And so I'll just go ahead and do that, what's called for in the pattern. So yeah, but these are incredibly thick. Just feel great. I can't wait to have these. This will be great for wearing around the house. And I love how the colors have gone together there. I'm using I think it's a Farm Girl Fibers DK. Yeah, Farm Girl Fibers, her Honeysuckle DK in Spectro Specs. And then a Le Garçon Mohair Silk in Pastel Jimmy. And so those two ended up going together absolutely perfectly. So yeah, so that is to the point where I need to knit to starting to make the heel. And then finally, okay, I haven't started it yet, but this is for project number 2 for 2025. It was this Companion Fibers yarn, this fingering, and this is in the colorway Rhododendron, which to me, it's really got that down. Really does look like those colors. And my plan is to knit a fatigue hat, I believe, fatigue cap. And I'll put in a picture of that. Now, I needed to be careful. They called for 7 stitches to the inch, and they called for 111 stitches to be cast on to make a tube. And so the circumference of that tube then, with that kind of gauge, would just be about 16 inches around. Well, if I'm going to make a hat for my husband, it's going to have to be larger than that. So I measured his head. So his head is about 23.5 inches around. And so what I decided to do is I looked at some of my stockinette gauge on different needle sizes and that kind of thing. And when I start working this up, I'll double check it. But I think on a set of size 3 needles with this kind of yarn, I'll get about 8 stitches to the inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast on 170 stitches instead of 111. And then I'll knit that up as a tube till it's 36 inches long. And that will give me a circumference of about, I think 21.25 inches around. So I give it a little more than 2 inches of negative ease for him, and that should work. So I think, and I should be able to knit a 36-inch tube with 170 stitches because I have 2 skeins of this yarn. So that's my plan. And so I've got those adjustments kind of ready to go. So I think as soon as I get another project off the needles, I'll be getting this on the needles. So hopefully that'll be for next time. You'll get to see the start of this. I'm debating about how to start this, whether to start it with a toe-up sock cast on or provisional. I'm leaning towards doing provisional and then Kitchenering it so that both ends will look identical when they're Kitchenered shut. So we'll see. All right. So that is Yarn Randomizer project number 2 for 2025. It's this. So now, daily task of weaving in ends. I still haven't behaved that well on that, but let's see, I wove in ends on, of course, my garter snake hat, but the thing that I actually worked on was my Geo Gradient shawl from last year. I finished it about this time last year, I think. And you know, I had never put the fringe on that. Now this is not finished. I'd used some yarn that I'd kind of ripped out for the beginning when I changed the beginning of this pattern. So I cut lengths of the yarn and I've made all the tassels. Now I've been trying to steam them a little more straight, and I'm going to cut them until they're maybe about, I think 2 inches long is what I'm going to go for there, and trim those down. But that let me, hold on for a moment. a little heater came on. But yeah, I'm going to trim all those next. And so I have it hanging on this so that I can hold it up and steam these ends and get them straight. So that was some extra finishing work that I hadn't had done, and I went ahead and got done. It was 105 tassels. I'll stick in a picture of all the yarn I had clipped for doing this. But yeah, so finally it's still not officially done. I got to do the trimming of these tassels, but then it will well and truly be done. So there's that. So I see that shawl is giving me the guilty eye over there that I have to finish. And so I will work on that before next time. And so I promise before the end of February, I will be wearing that shawl for an episode. So we'll finally get that done. And so that's all the main stuff that I've been working on. So finally, another randomizer pick. So randomizer pick number 3 for this year. And it ended up being this little mini. And so this is Cornbread and Honey, which I believe is an Ohio dyer. And this is their DK weight yarn, and it's in the colorway Magic Magenta. And so it's only 49 yards. So it's 49 yards. So the question is what to do with this mini. Now, I could combine it with some other yarns I have in my stash and maybe make something bigger. But what I've typically done with small amounts of DK yarn like this is, one of the things I've done is I make cozies to go on these glasses that I use. And I've also got a cozy here, you can see here. And so I've made this cozy a couple of times. So I could make another one. This would be enough yarn for another one of these. But I had another idea too. I've looked through patterns for DK weight yarn for this yardage. And so another pattern that I saw, and I'll put it up there, was the old shale lace dishcloth. And so I thought that might be really nice too. So I'm going to ask your opinion. So what do you think? What would you like to see made out of this yarn? Would it be another cozy like this, or the dishcloth and stuff? Let me know your thoughts. And this will be the 3rd project for the year. So that's it for Yarn Randomizer Pick number 3. I can't wait to show you number 4 next episode, but it's saying a secret right now. So that's it for that. And no acquisitions. So I would have had acquisitions, except that the yarn to finish off my sweater didn't come in. And so that will have to wait until next episode. So stash management, I've made still no purchases in 2020. Well, okay, sorry. Reboot. I have made a purchase. I'm waiting for it to show up from the fiber seed, but we'll have to balance that out when it shows up next time. But I did have another yarn that I wanted to give away. So I have a lot of Yarnable Hypnotic Yarns colorways when I was subscribing to them. And there's some really beautiful colorways. And so this one is called Mermazing. All right. So if you are interested in getting your mitts on this yarn, I would say let's put the word mermaid as the keyword to mention if you're interested in this yarn. So that's it. I think a relatively short episode. Let me see if there's anything else. I do have that hand winding video because I was kind of on vacation with the boys and then kind of taking a break this past week. My plan is to get the yarn winding video up shortly before the next full episode comes up. Maybe like I'll do it in about a week and put that up. And then otherwise, I've got a variety of other videos I still want to do. I was just chilling and this past week and we had some very, very cold weather here. Was it down in the negatives at night this past week. And so and we've been dealing with some heating issues here, which has been exciting, which makes this not too warm to wear right now. Hopefully those will be resolved soon and everything. But thank goodness I have sweaters and knitwear to keep me warm. But other than that, I think that's it. And so just trying to think if there's anything else. There isn't. And so I hope you've been experiencing kindness and returning kindness. And taking good care of yourself. But also, I hope you have been enjoying your knits.